Hey, welcome back to the cabin. Uh, the last few days I've just been taking it easy because I twisted my back when I was pulling that propane bottle up from the road, and plus I think crawling under my quad bike and servicing it on the ground, I just did. I really should have just left that. But what can you do? You suffer. That's the problem with when you get old. Aches and pains and just recovering uh, from back problems or anything just takes a bit longer when you're older. Unfortunately, that's just a bit of a bummer, really. But that's just life. So apart from just doing sort of simple exercises and just relaxing my back the last few days, I'm still not able to do any strenuous work or anything like that. Um, So I've been actually just enjoying myself up here in the cabin, but it's been raining quite a bit. It's on and off the last few days. It's been very hot and humid, and then it would rain, and then it would just the sun would come out again, and which is fine. I mean, I don't mind the rain anyway because we definitely need it. It's good for all the forest fires in Canada. Hopefully, everyone else is getting rain. Um, so yeah, so um, I've got to go back to the city in a few days. Um, my brother's coming over from Australia, which is really nice. Him and his wife. I haven't seen him in a few years. Um, and also my daughter's flying in, so I've got to go and actually see them all. And then I think, I'll see my brother. I don't think he's that interested in coming up here. He might be, but I think the hike up probably be a bit much, really, for those guys. He's a lot older than I am, so I'm not sure if he's into that. But his son's coming as well. His son lives in England, down in the southwest, so he's coming over to see his parents. So I think he's quite keen to come up to the cabin. So yeah, if he is, I'll bring him up. But obviously, my daughter, when she flies in, she's going to come up to the cabin. Um, so yeah, it'd be nice. It's really weird. My brother, I think he got sick and tired of the cold winters in Canada, and he packed up and went to Australia. Geez, years and years ago. I mean, I've been to Australia myself and lived there for a year when I was younger, back in 1987, which is really nice. They have like a working holiday scheme. I don't know if they still do that, but it's really nice. You can go over there and live and work for a year, and that's what I did. And I didn't see as much as Australia as I like because I mean, I could have done actually when I was in Queensland. I met a bunch of people that just bought a second-hand car, and they were going to drive all across Australia, and I could have done that, but I opted in the end to use what money I had left, and I flew over to Southeast Asia and traveled around there for a few months, which is really interesting because I've never been to that part of the world before. So I went to Malaysia, Thailand, into Hong Kong, into China. That was a bit of an experience in those days because it was the height of the Cold War, so it was very strange traveling in China in those days. It was really hard just to travel around, and it wasn't developed as it is now. I mean, China's a big, huge global power now. But when I went there in the '80s, uh, you know, it just wasn't that wasn't the case at all. I mean, they still had steam engines and stuff like that. That's what they used to get around, and it just wasn't developed like it is now. Now I wouldn't recognize China if I went back. I wouldn't even know. Sorry about that. Um, like I said, was saying before, I wouldn't even know. I wouldn't recognize China because they've got huge big cities now, and they've got high-speed train network. God, when I went there, they just had steam engines, and that's all they had. And it was just so difficult, as I say, to travel from one city to another because they didn't really want like independent travelers in China in those days. So it was really, really hard to travel around and just to find places to stay and stuff like that. But I'm glad I went to see it. I mean, I did some of the big things like, I went to, when I was in Beijing, I went up to the wall of China. I actually walked along it and slept overnight on top of it. That was an experience. Um, And this is years ago. Before now, I think you can do like walks and everything. But in those days, they just didn't have. I mean, there was only a little bit of the wall that was you know that they rebuilt, because a lot of it obviously is just falling apart. And I think a lot of local people use a lot of the stones and stuff to build their own houses. So I think they've you know, now I think you can walk miles and miles along the wall, because I think they've rebuilt large parts of it. So yeah, it was definitely interesting staying overnight on there. And then the next day I went down and and anyway got a lift. I think there was an old school bus. I remember it. It's really funny. And there's these soldiers trying to push the school bus to get it started. So there was another guy that I met in Beijing, Paul. He stayed over. We both went to the wall and slept overnight. And then the next day, we walked down, and we saw the school bus, and they're trying to jump start it. So we pushed it, gave them help to push it, and then they gave us a lift to this small train station somewhere, which then we had to wait a while, and then another train came later in the evening and took us back to Beijing. But yeah, it was definitely an experience. I don't know if you're into travel writing, but there is a book that I think kind of sums up the time when I was there. The gentleman's called Paul Thoreau, and it's called Riding the Red Rooster. So if you're interested in that kind of era in China, have a read of his book, because it's really fascinating. He did loads of things that I didn't do, which he shouldn't have done, because you know, in those days they had people watching you everywhere. You couldn't do nothing, and when you went to your hotel room, there's always someone on the floor, and when you check in, yeah, it was pretty freaky from that point of view. But yeah, I still really enjoyed myself. So yeah, as I said, I probably wouldn't even recognize it now if I went back, because it's developed so much. Look, I even got a Chinese grow watt all-in-one inverter. So in those days, you know, I never would have thought that, you know, it would have developed as much as it has. And I was there before the Tiananmen Square happened and everything like that. So yeah, so that was quite an experience. But anyway, back to the cabin. I've got a little garden. I'll show you. Let's go. I've got some flowers down here growing. Actually, what I would like to do at some point is when I clear all these trees, even these laying down ones, I might try starting that in the fall. So I've got some flowers down here. I mean, I would like to plant some wildflowers, but I need to do some research on what is sort of like a what are natural wildflowers in a forest in Canada. So I need to do some research on that. But I do have some flowers that have come up here. And I think since I've cut all these trees down last year, it's given them a bit more space and a bit more light to grow, really. So these guys have come up. There's quite a few of these down the bottom of the bog, down by the meadow. Oh, got a little chipmunk down. All right, mate. Are you busy? Sorry, I'm doing some filming, mate. I don't know if you can see that little guy. All right, mate. You busy? Hmm? Are you busy, my friend, getting your grub and stuff? But anyway, there's quite a few wildflowers down by a meadow area where I come in. That's where I see the bears all the time when I come. Well, when I come up, I have seen bears there, but I don't like seeing bears when I'm up there, when I'm coming in. But they do go down in the meadow area there, because there's some they graze down there, and there's some wild raspberries and other fruit, and I think they do eat that. Yeah, so as I was saying, I would like to, when I clear all this, and maybe have some raised beds up here at some point, and then just have some wild flowers down. That'd be really nice, and have sort of like a wild meadow. I just need to get a few more trees. Actually, there's a couple trees in front of the solar panel, which I think I'm gonna have to cut down, because I think it'll give me an extra hour of sunlight on the panels. But I'll do that in September, I think. I'm not doing it now. I can't do it now anyway, because I'll just knacker myself even more. if I try doing something like that. So I've also just reinforced the side of my woodshed as well. I gotta do the other side, but I don't want to lift anything heavy until I can sort my back out. But yeah, so it's looking good. Wood's getting drier, so that's great. So September, October, I'll have some loads of nice dry wood to burn. Okay, right, I'm gonna sign off. Cheers for watching, and take care. Okay, bye now.